The last passenger, a chilling subway tale.
He was the only one on the train, or so he thought. The subway car rattled along the tracks, the dim lights flickering occasionally. He glanced around, seeing nothing but empty seats and darkened windows. The silence was almost deafening, broken only by the rhythmic clatter of the train. Or so he thought. He tried to shake off the uneasy feeling creeping up his spine. The platform outside was deserted, not a soul in sight. He took a deep breath, trying to convince himself it was just his imagination. A chill ran down his spine. The air seemed to grow colder, and he could feel the hairs on the back of his neck stand up. He rubbed his arms, trying to warm himself, but the cold seemed to seep into his very bones. Maybe he was just imagining things. He looked around nervously, his eyes darting to every shadow and corner. The feeling of being watched was overwhelming, but he saw nothing. He tried to calm his racing heart, telling himself it was all in his head. He finally worked up the courage to turn around again. His hands were trembling, and his breath came in short gasps. He slowly turned his head, dreading what he might see. The anticipation was almost unbearable. This time, she was there, pale, expressionless, whispering. Her eyes were hollow, and her skin was as white as a sheet. She sat motionless, her lips moving ever so slightly. He could barely make out the words she was saying. "You took my seat." Her voice was barely a whisper, but it sent a shiver down his spine. The words echoed in his mind, filling him with dread. He wanted to run, but his legs felt like lead. And now, she waits for the next passenger. The train came to a stop, and the doors opened with a hiss. The platform was still empty, but he knew she was there, waiting. He stumbled out of the car, his heart pounding in his chest, and vowed never to ride the subway alone again. As he hurried away, he couldn't shake the feeling that she was still watching him. The shadows seemed to stretch and twist, following his every move. He glanced back, but the platform was empty. Or was it? He could swear he saw a flicker of movement in the corner of his eye. His heart raced faster, and he quickened his pace. The subway tunnel seemed to stretch endlessly, the darkness closing in around him. He broke into a run, his footsteps echoing through the empty station. The air grew colder, and he could hear a faint whispering behind him. He didn't dare look back again. He just ran, desperate to escape the chilling presence that seemed to follow him. Finally, he burst out of the subway station and into the night air. He gasped for breath, his heart pounding in his chest. He looked back one last time, but the entrance was dark and silent. He hoped it was all over, but deep down he knew the ghostly woman would always be there, waiting for the next passenger.